Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome in on a Wednesday. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy in association with our good friends at Yellowhammer News and yellowhammernews.com. Glad you're with us on what looks to be a wet Wednesday here today. I see that even on the chat already.
It's rainy here in Troy, Alabama, where I am right now. We've got a lot to get to today. I had a big crowd last night in Troy. There's news from the Braves. John, look, you're going to have to excuse me here. I know this is not the time. I know this is not the venue, but how are you going to stop a spontaneous outpouring of love and appreciation? You know, how in the world am I expected to hold this back, you know? Range Pro, 8 in a row. Phantom on an epic run. LM will be, which stands for local man. LM will be out of town next week on payday. Mark it down. John, we are getting loads of that stuff. Oh, man, is the Phantom we'll talk about it in specifics later.
Yeah,
but look, guys, I
ahead.
know the Phantom did it again. But we do have a prescribed time to talk about it. You guys just give me a moment here. Goodness.
Thanks for the shout out. We appreciate that, Range Pro. And yes, it is hard to get in touch with local man these days. All I'll say about it, Barry, incredible game, both of them. But that game one last night with Indiana and Cleveland was, what a finish.
Yeah.
It was a doozy. And we'll get into that a little bit later in the program, as you mentioned. Here in a moment, Mike Griffith from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and Dog Nation is going to hop on with us here. He's finishing up a story, and he's going to hop on with us here in a couple of minutes. Always enjoy having Mike on the program. Of course, CJ Duncan at the top of the next hour. Barry, I actually, you asked me to do it, or you promoted it last night.
Yep.
I was able to get on ESPN Plus last night. And I had to stick my phone up against the screen and get the QR code and all this type stuff because I probably hadn't watched it in a while.
Yeah.
But probably I will have to admit I got to come clean. Somebody did text me and go, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
I went, what could this be about?
Yeah,
but it was a good production.
Yeah, the Trojans got ambushed last night by Alabama. Record crowd. 3,000 something at Riddle Pace Field last night. I had the television of that one. Alabama scored 4 runs in the first, 3 runs in the second. You guys just getting settled in, and they're up 7-0 over Troy. And they end up winning it 10-2 was the final score. Trojans will go on a road trip starting today. Troy plays at Samford tonight. Tomorrow morning, I'll be doing the show. I think it's from a hotel room in Collierville, Tennessee, which is right outside Memphis.
Wow.
So we got a long night of travel, baseball and travel tonight. And then on Friday,
if you are outside of Memphis, I'm saying you're either to the east or the north of Memphis, because south or west, you're in another state.
Yeah, I wonder about that because, I mean, if you're going to Memphis and you're going from here to Memphis, and you're going in or through Memphis, all you're in Tennessee is Memphis.
Yeah.
You know, because you come north, boom, you hit the Tennessee line, you're in Memphis. You keep going, you're heading west across the Mississippi River, boom, you're out of Memphis, and you're out of the state of Tennessee, in and out. So I don't know exactly where that is, but
you should have a nice drive, Barry, because you won't see many cars on I-22 from Birmingham to Memphis. That's the most desolate stretch of interstate I've ever been on.
I have been on that road, that new, I still call it new, because John and I both remember how it used to be on that stretch. The worst. You had to go through Gurn, and you had to go through Sulligent, and you had to go through Hamilton. And
what Alabama quarterback was from Hamilton, Alabama?
Gary Hollingsworth.
Yes.
What famous Auburn running back was from Sulligent, Alabama?
Ooh.
That was Joe Cribbs.
Wait a minute. He went from Sulligent to Auburn and past Tuscaloosa to get there? Wait a minute. What happened there?
They didn't want him, you know. I think they told him he wouldn't start immediately as a freshman or whatever the legend goes. But now You got Interstate 22, and I'm on it quite a bit, especially like in the middle of the night.
Uh-huh.
Middle of the night, like in, I think it's Lake Mississippi or something like that, if I'm got my roads right. And it's 2:00 in the morning and you're on Interstate 22 and your brain starts to wander and think, what if I'm the only person on the face of the earth right now? What if the rest of the civilization is just gone? I mean, you've seen The Twilight Zone. You've watched some of the TV shows because you're looking around and other than the interstate, you don't see a sign that a human being has ever touched that stretch.
And, a lot of that interstate, at least coming out of Birmingham and back into it, is 3-lane. And I'm thinking,
yeah,
why is it 3 lanes here? I mean, I can tell you a lot of sections of the interstate that need to be 3-lane, like 65 from Huntsville to Mobile for one, and mainly 85 coming out of – why 85 comes out of Montgomery at about 5 lanes, and then you get to the AUM exit and it goes back to 2. I mean, that ought to be 4-lane all the way to the dog track. I don't understand that.
That's a good point. It goes right past Taylor Road or what, Chantilly, and then all of a sudden you gotta merge and everything. Especially with all that growth in the East. Well, but but the Trojans lost last night. Alabama, pretty doggone good team. I think we've talked about this. We mentioned this yesterday. I know for a fact. Alabama's RPI is something like 13. I haven't checked it this morning. Auburn's RPI is maybe 3. But they're both tied in 7th place in the SEC standings right now. So, I mean, that's a tough league.
Let me ask you this. We mentioned Tennessee, I think last year, maybe it was a year ago, 2 years. They were cocky, running their mouths. I believe number 1 in the country at some time. Is it a case that there's one, maybe 2 SEC teams that are above and beyond everybody else, or is everybody just really good and knotted up real close together?
Well, yeah, the way that the standings look, at least in terms of the RPI, John and I have talked about this as well. Texas is in first place. They're 2 games ahead of Arkansas in first. Alabama will host Georgia this weekend in Tuscaloosa. Georgia is tied with LSU for 3rd in the league. So the top 4 teams are all within 4 games of each other. So nobody's running away with it. But again, you look at the RPI right now, and this is nationally. I think I mentioned this the other day. I meant to. Out of the top 13 teams in the country in RPI, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the 13 are from the SEC. So that just gives you an idea of what you're dealing with. Look, Alabama's really good. They are 25 games over 500. They finish out their non-conference schedule. And remember, their non-conference schedule, they played North Carolina State, which is right. They played Ohio State. They played Coastal Carolina, whose RPI is actually better than Alabama's. And they won every one of them. They went 13-0 in non-conference games this year. But, again, in the SEC, 13-11.
And let me ask you this then. Is Texas above and beyond, much better than Alabama and Auburn? Or are they really close? That's kind of what I'm saying. Is there a team that's just head and shoulders above everybody else in the league? Or is everybody in the league close to equal in terms of how good they are and talent-wise?
Well, if you put it that way, I mean, like I said, the top 4 teams are all within 4 games of each other. There are a couple of really bad teams in the SEC.
Missouri, I think, is not any good.
0-24.
Yeah.
0-24.
Tough year.
But if you're looking at just pure talent, I really don't think so. I mean, Texas is in first place in the league. They lead it by 2 games over Arkansas. Texas is 35-6 or 35-8, something like that. So they're better, but significantly, is there a super team? Yeah, there's a super team in the SEC. There's about 5 of them. And it's going to continue that way. I mean, Alabama is a little bit better than middle of the road in the SEC, and that tells you something because they're really good. 20, 25 years ago, they would be leading the league with that club.
Yeah,
But and that's the way it's going to be. I mean, that's the way it's going to be in baseball. Again, 8 of the top 13 in RPI are in the SEC. It's the way it was in basketball, which was the best conference there ever has been in men's basketball. It's the way it's in football and everything.
Yeah.
And John, the way things are set up, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. That's just the way it's constructed.
I don't see it either. Hey, okay, our man Mike Griffith of the AJC Dog Nation hopping on with us this morning. It's always glad to have Mike on the program. And Mike, thanks for joining us today. Looks like you got a little suntan. I understand you've been on a cruise recently. Tell us about it.
Well, probably got more sun yesterday at the SEC softball tournament before I jump into that cruise. I mean, you thought basketball was good. Has there ever been a conference tournament that's had 8 of the top 10 teams in the nation? Well, there has now. The SEC softball tournament started yesterday in Athens, and 8 of the top 10 ranked teams in the country are in the SEC right now. And there's been 5 different SEC teams ranked number 1 in softball this year. So you got the 4-time defending national champ Oklahoma. You got Texas that's played Oklahoma in the national championship game 2 out of the last 3 years. And then you got all the powerhouses. Yesterday I watched Alabama and Auburn play. Tennessee has maybe the best pitcher in the country. Arkansas is number 1 in one poll. Oklahoma's 1 in 3 other polls. So it's just a ridiculous collection of talent and just no margin for error. So I was there yesterday. You had a question there, Barry?
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
I wasn't raising my hand to be called
on.
Yeah,
I was out there yesterday. I coached my daughters in travel ball, and when I was in Tennessee, I went to the World Series covering the weeklies for years. Of course, the Auburn coaches are from that Tennessee coaching tree now. So I really like the game. I know it gets really good ratings. I think it's on par with college baseball and TV ratings. I think it's kind of underserved in the publicity it gets because it's a fantastic product. And a lot of people have played it. A lot of guys have played men's slow pitch, but some people have played the fast pitch version and bases are closer, game moves faster. And the athletes really compete and they have a good time out there. So it's a great product. I'll be out there again today. Some good action today. And then tomorrow, the big teams, right? The top 4 seeds start tomorrow. I do have to tell you guys, I really don't, and I know these conference tournaments don't serve a big role, but I really don't like the staggered approach. If you're going to play a tournament, have a tournament. This whole, this team doesn't play for 2 days. I mean, the regular season's over. So, the regular season is what it is, but these double buys, I think we see in the basketball tournament, coaches have bullied their way into this. Look, play the tournament. If you don't want to show up, you don't show up. You don't want to play your best, fine. But make it a true tournament so we know who the tournament champion is. Don't be loading the field up so the regular season teams that had success are more inclined to have success in the tournament because we say, well, it's a whole new season. Well, it's not if you're going to give a team a double bye. So, let conventional wisdom take control. Don't be bullied by these coaches that are all overpaid, as we're seeing. Now that student athletes are being paid, we're going to have to take a close look at the coaching salaries. I believe, especially the buyouts that coaches have, right? I mean, people complain about, Nico had a 4-year contract and he wanted more. Yeah, well, Rick Barnes had about a 6-year buyout when he demanded a raise at Tennessee, and he hadn't even gotten to a Final Four, and he made him the second highest paid coach in the country. He still hasn't got to a Final Four, and everybody gave him his money, even though he had 6 years worth of buyout behind him. But a kid goes out there, gets a couple concussions for you, playing quarterback, gets you into the college football playoff, beats 2 out of the 3 rivals, and you're saying, he's not worth it. He's a terrible guy. Yeah, but you had him number 1 through all of your spring drills. So when did he become a terrible guy? When you didn't pay him the money that he had asked for back in December? I mean, look, if you weren't going to pay him, then right then and there, you should have said, look, we're not going to pay you. Go away. We want somebody else. But you kept that kid in your program knowing there was another portal window, knowing he could leave. And then it comes right down to it. And oh, man, Tennessee, they did the right thing. They let him go. Instead of giving $2 million more, this is what Tennessee decided. Take all the other factors out of it. We're not going to pay $2 million to return a starting quarterback in the SEC. $2 million. So right now it's great, but I don't want to hear in November how great it was when you got 4 losses. You took a stand. You showed them. Okay, good. You got a brand new quarterback this year. I hope it was worth it. And all those coaches with 6-year buyouts of 50 or 60 or $40 million, what about when they renegotiate? Are we going to say, hey, wait a minute, you got a deal in place. You got to finish that. No, that's different. That's different. So I'm going to start out left double standard today.
A lot of both of the topics you bring up about the softball tournament and how stacked it is in the SEC and the money involved, you can kind of dovetail it into this point, because we were talking about this right before we brought you on, Mike. SEC baseball.
Before I hijacked your show.
No, hey, hijack away. We're all for that.
Yes,
but I called television last night. Troy baseball versus Alabama. Alabama's really good. I think their RPI is number 12 in the country, but they're tied for 7th in the SEC in baseball. 8 of the top 13 RPI teams in the country are from the SEC. Softball stacked, baseball stacked. The basketball team, the basketball season in the SEC was the best, most competitive basketball season in the history of any league. Of course, the SEC did what they did in the college football playoff. It's geared that way. I mean, it's gonna stay that way. Not only is it that way now, but it's set up, I think, Mike, to almost ensure that that's going to be a continuation throughout eternity, unless, I don't know, something changes, right?
It's where the money's at, right?
Yeah, that's what it's all.
Yeah, it's where the money's at, and so that's where the talent goes, and it's where the talent is concentrated, because we have prioritized athletics in the Southeastern Conference, and of course you're seeing a lot of these schools now even really improve their academics. I mean, Georgia's a top 20 academic institution. Florida. Certainly, Vanderbilt, I guess that's where Vanderbilt waves the flag and contributes. The football stadium's not it. But to your point, yeah, I mean, and the Big Ten now with their big television contracts. So we're kind of starting to see college athletics fall into these layers, where you got we say it's a power 4 or power 5. It's really the power 2. It's the SEC and Big Ten. And then you drop down a level, to the ACC and Big 12. Although I will say it looks like Clemson is awful loaded this year for a run at a national title in football. Big 12 has some decent teams left. And then after that, you've got what's really turned into feeder programs, right? I mean, these are guys programs where if guys do well, they're going to get bought or transfer out to a Big 10 or an SEC school, or maybe even ACC or Big 12. So it's kind of gone into layers, and it's kind of been the net effect of this portal and NIL. And I mean, it's anybody could have predicted that. And now it's a matter of them trying to legislate it. I mean, today's supposedly the deadline for House versus NCAA. They're going to resubmit a plan to grandfather in roster limits, which a lot of people look at that as a negative. But the flip side is now there's no more scholarship limits. So instead of these, for example, softball, I talked to the coaches about it yesterday. This is going to be great for college softball. Instead of having 11 or 12 scholarships to spread out over 25 or 30 kids, everybody's going to be on a full scholarship. So less people on the roster, but the ones that are playing are going to be more highly compensated. So, I mean, there's glass half full, glass half empty,
Yeah.
But I think that's a healthy thing. And now we just got to see if these lawyers can get it done on this House versus NCAA. Seems like it's dragging everybody into the mud.
Oh. Wanted to get into that a little bit deeper. Mike, can you hang with us? We need to take a break. Can you hang with us? Because several other things we wanted to touch base with you. Mike Griffith of the AJC Dog Nation joining us here today, fresh off some softball yesterday there in Athens. He'll join us when we return after this quick timeout.
Yep, in association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore in McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Well, maybe not. We're going to keep on, which is
Let's keep it going.
Which is just as good. Mike, later this month, the SEC will meet in Destin for their annual meetings. What do you think they're going to try to get accomplished in Destin this in a couple of weeks?
Wow, there's been so many issues that have bubbled up that I don't know if we've forgotten, but I think this 9-game SEC schedule is still got to go through, right? And it seems to me like that's probably going to be discussed. It would make sense, I suppose, if there's going to be a more attractive television contract and some sort of agreement that the SEC will get a certain number of teams in the college football playoff, but there again, there's still an unsettled amount there because they haven't officially expanded the playoff yet. I think we all anticipate that they probably will. It's kind of changed the game. I mean, already we've seen a team finish 4th place in a conference, win a national title. I still have a hard time with that. I'm not going to deny that Ohio State looked like the best team in the college football playoff, but I certainly don't think that they deserved to be there. I think if you finish in 4th place in your conference, it's essentially the NFL, right? I mean, that's what we've turned this into, and that was what made college football different and special. Was every weekend really seemed to matter. Like if you lost, okay, and we got to the point like, okay, well maybe you lose one game, maybe you can still get in. Maybe you can. Georgia couldn't, as a 2-time defending national champion with 1 loss. But in most years, maybe you lose one game and you can still get in the college football playoff. But if you can lose 2 games, is that what Ohio State lost? 2 games, you lost to your rival as a 3-touchdown favorite, and you host. And not only do you get in, you host a playoff game. Now, only in a world where the college football playoff selection committee is chaired by a Big Ten guy is that going to happen. You lose as a 3-touchdown underdog, you have 2 losses, and you host a first-round game. I mean, I just – when is that going to happen again? Now, again, they did look good, but the year before, neither Notre Dame or Ohio State would have even made the college football playoff if it was still a 14 playoff. They were the number 5 and 6 seeds. So it's going to – I hate to use the word watered down, but it's going to get more watered down from what college football traditionalists are accustomed to. And more teams will probably go in, not this year, but after this year. And then there'll be the discussion of how do you determine which teams get in. Well, they're going to keep the committee. They've said that. Right. And the committee has been beefed up. I do like seeing Ivan Maisel on there along with Mark D'Antonio. Those are 2 good football people. I think I saw Jeff Long's on there as well. I think they're good people. But I still think that system is too gray for me. We don't really know what the key metrics are. We know what they told us they would be. Schedule strength was supposed to matter, but yet Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina were left sitting at home, and an SMU team that had just lost in their conference championship game got in, which was another farce. But we got one more year of this 12-team playoff. Probably goes to 14 or 16. And I say probably the SEC and Big Ten get some guarantees of how many teams they'll get in. And once that happens, the SEC will say, okay, we'll play that 9th conference game, now that we know that perhaps that other loss isn't going to hurt us like it did last year. Yeah. So that's probably going to be one of the items it's been discussed in the past. It'll be discussed in the future. Something that happened kind of under the radar, and I need to learn a little bit more about it. But the NCAA basically signed off on some gambling provisions that really I don't think are necessarily good for the sport. In terms, I'm not saying that nobody's allowing it, but they're allowing some interaction with some of the gambling agencies. And I need to dive a little deeper into it before we get too far into the weeds. But it almost looked like a white flag, like the NCAA can't police it adequately. So I think they're letting another entity in on that. So I'm guessing that will be discussed by Greg Sankey and talked about to some degree. I know that's always been at the forefront for him as he protects the integrity of competition in the league. And then certainly the management of these NIL deals and how you go about it. All these different schools have different plans, and there's not really a book for it, right? There's not a guidebook, NIL for dummies, right? Chapter the forward by Tennessee and
sure. Yeah. You mentioned gambling, Mike. I mean, it's a big issue here in the state of Alabama, trying to get regulated sports wagering. There's way too much unregulated sports wagering, and there's a big push to get it voted on and let the people decide. But our politicians, their pockets are getting greased by entities outside of the state. What's the feel in Georgia about sports wagering?
Wow. Well, again, I'm not an expert on the sports wagering. But so right now you have some degree of it in the form of lottery tickets and what is it, slot machines? You go to the gas station.
Yeah.
Those slot machine people don't want to see the gambling. They don't want to see the sports betting go through, because then maybe not as many handles get pulled. Right? So so when you talk about pockets getting greased, there are entities that gambling, a part of the gambling world, that doesn't want to see sports winning because it's sports betting, because it's money out of their pocket. I look at it like untapped potential revenue, because it's happening. Whether you're going to regulate it or not, people are going to bet on sports. If this is a way, especially in Alabama, a state that's near and dear to my heart, not just because I was born there and I work there and have great sentiment for the state, but because I've invested in a couple properties there, and I believe that Alabama is prime time for growth right now. And I don't want to go too deep in the weeds on tariffs and politics, but if you're looking for growth in the Sun Belt and you're a corporation, Alabama is fertile ground. I mean, because when you take a look at the property taxes are relatively relatively low. The government is favorable for a business climate, for an industrial business climate. It's probably some of the hardest working people you're ever going to find in the state of Alabama. I've seen that. You got a lot of people that pulled themselves up by their own bootstraps, so to speak, and worked very hard for everything they've gotten. Those cities are very hardworking cities, and it's in the Sun Belt. It's you've got a port city in Mobile available to you. You have good proximity to industrial centers, Atlanta notably, but Nashville as well, another growing area, and I think it's a beautiful state. Again, I mean, Gulf Shores and Orange Beach they're amazing places. And I don't want to give that secret away. The people are like, oh darn it, don't tell everybody that. But,
don't say anything, because I don't like a lot of people down there, Mike.
It's beautiful. I mean, it is just unbelievable down there, and it's so to me, Alabama is. In fact, I think there's an aluminum plant going in Bay Minette that's some $4 billion plant, and somebody's saying there's going to be a new road between Montgomery that's going to get you to the beach closer and all this. So it's already happening, public airport going into Gulf Shores. A lot of things are already happening and in place, where if we get this industrial surge, whether it's via the tariffs or otherwise, Alabama stands to be a big winner in the U.S. economy. So getting back to your point, you talk about the revenue that could be generated by sports gambling, and what do you do with that revenue? Do you put it into the schools, I would say, or your highway system or other infrastructures within the state? Again, the hardworking people are there. Just give them the means to build, like Tennessee has popped, and like Georgia's popped, and Florida's popped too much. But you see, I was recently in Greenville, South Carolina.
Oh, it's beautiful there.
I had no idea.
It's amazing.
It's just popped up. There's this amazing city in Greenville,
clean,
really,
beautiful,
90 minutes away from me in this downtown. That can be out, and we've seen, Mobile is already a beautiful city, but we've seen that happen, and certainly Montgomery is in great position, fantastic location for growth. So I guess which way I'd vote on it.
Yeah,
it depends on how it's run and regulated. That's the secret to anything. There's, but if it's run and regulated properly, I would say that the state, stands to gain a great deal.
That's interesting. Mike, I wanted to ask you this. This happens a lot on this program. John comes up with a good idea or a good question, so therefore I want to bogart it and jump the route on it. We noted again before we went on the air with you, Texas leads the SEC in baseball. They played for the national championship last couple of years, near the top in softball. Basketball is going to get better. Of course, football and all that. John has made the point. He said, look, you guys, you guys wanted Texas in. You thought it was a great deal and all that. And they're competing their brains out and everything. They're supporting every sport out there. They have raised the level. Yeah. And you better start investing somewhere close to the level Texas is, or they're going to run you out of the league, right? Do you feel that?
Well, if you just look at the finances, I don't know that anybody's going to have the money at Texas in the SEC. They've got some grants that are just, I mean, and I can't pull it up, but they supersize grant money and how they choose to use it or how they choose to maneuver their economics. You say, oh, that money's not for that. Well, maybe it's not, but it's being used for something else that sports money doesn't have to be used for now. That other programs in the SEC will direct a lot of their funds into other parts of the school. I mean, you just look at the growth of some of these schools, and it's no doubt been because of their athletic programs. I mean, think about Nick Saban's value to Alabama when you take a look at the enrollment and the popularity of that school and the campus improvements. And I dare say every time I go through Auburn, it just amazes me from where it was in the 1990s when I covered it, which was the loveliest village on the plains, but now it's gotten a lot bigger. It's still pretty lovely. It's really nice. Speaking, in a Greenville kind of way, you're like, wow, look at Auburn. Like, this place is happening now with all the businesses and places to eat and things like that. Getting back to your question, I do think it raises the bar for the programs in the SEC. Certainly, it presents a challenge when another school has the resources and the means to invest like that. But I see athletics becoming more regional again because of the NIL, because of the type of people that are going to advertise and sponsor and push. I think it's more likely that a kid doesn't transfer if he starts out school close to home. Or in the event that he does transfer, maybe he leaves or she leaves and comes back to finish their career in their home state, not just to get their degree or because of opportunity, but because of the overriding political connections and advantages to playing in your home state. So while I do think Texas is a threat, I think because of its geographical location, I think you're still going to see a lot of the best athletes from the Southeast, from Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. They're going to want to stay closer to home. So I think that disadvantage of that geographical disadvantage that Texas has is enough for programs in the SEC, powerful programs, to maintain their appeal, their momentum, their edge. If they have a good coach in place, if they hire wisely, I think great coaches still have a lot to do with where kids go to school. You look at Wes Johnson at Georgia, and he produced that fantastic LSU pitcher a couple of years ago that's dominating the major league. Pitchers want to come and play for Wes Johnson at Georgia. Yeah, they're number one in one poll in college baseball. Just 3 years after being a kind of an also-ran. So hiring great coaches, developing talent. I think the in-state talent, keeping your in-state talent, are the ways to combat the big orange surge that you're seeing from Texas and Texas A&M, another very well-heeled program. Because the thing about going to those schools is you got to live there. And now some Texans might be offended, but I don't want to live there. I like living in the Southeast. I like the advantages that we have here. Austin, such a hot city that it's too hot now. You can't, go through the traffic there. It takes you 30 minutes to go from one end of town to the other. Do you want to live there? Do you want to live in college? Do you want to try to get to College Station? You got to fly into Houston. So there's disadvantages there too, that I think open the door for well-run SEC programs to still be able to compete with the well-heeled programs at Texas and Texas A&M. In other words, I don't think they're just going to come in and take over the league. I think that far too competitive programs, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, Auburn, the usual suspects that found success in athletics.
Mike, in wrapping up, and certainly appreciate all your time as always. Always enjoy your insight and analysis. Everybody's talking Texas and Georgia in the SEC in football. They believe they're going to meet again in Atlanta for the SEC championship. I don't know if that's what you're thinking or not, but that seems to be what the majority of people are thinking. If that plays out, who's a sleeper? Who's a team in the SEC that you think could maybe challenge Georgia or Texas for one of the spots in Atlanta?
Well, I don't know if I'd ever call Alabama a sleeper in football. I don't know how they're not in the count. I mean, they got a really good coach there. I mean, did everybody get amnesia? I mean,
they got to beat teams like Vandy and Oklahoma first.
Well, yeah. I mean, last year was tough. And where was Nick Saban's help? Didn't he say he was going to stick around and help? Doesn't he got an office over there?
$41,000 a month.
A month. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah.
Didn't he say he was going to help the program when he? Did he say that? He did say that.
That's the understanding.
How come nobody's asking Nick Saban where? Oh, because that was just talk. That's why.
He's too busy selling cars, about to be a billionaire.
Well, I wish he'd get busy being the commissioner of college football, because that would solve a lot of problems, because nobody knows more about it than him. And he's an amazing college football figure. I mean, he's iconic. No, I think that, in year 2 of Kalen DeBoer, I mean, you got to give a guy time to have his culture, and he's got to get a quarterback that runs his stuff. And Milroe looked phenomenal at times. But it appeared that people caught up with what Alabama was doing. I think the cultural change was very different. We wondered how long and how well, the happiness and the different practices. I just kind of feel like year 2 will be a lot different for Alabama. He brings Ryan Grubb back. He was obviously with Seattle last year. He gets his offense coordinator back. It's year 2 of his program, his climate. Still a lot of talent at Alabama, so I'm certainly not. I put Alabama right there with Georgia. I mean, Georgia's quarterback situation is very. I don't know. I mean, what does Kirby Smart say? You're either elite or you're not. Well, their quarterback hasn't looked elite. He didn't look elite against Notre Dame, and they won against Texas. But if you go back and watch closely, there were some mistakes made in that game in the second half that other games wouldn't have worked out their way. So. I put Alabama right there with Georgia. I'm curious to see what Auburn's going to do. I mean, Hugh Freeze has got a quarterback he says he feels good about. And to me, that's where it all starts. So South Carolina has a fantastic quarterback in Lenore Sellers. I mean, this guy carried the program on his back, probably another story that didn't get told enough. They beat Clemson. They beat Clemson. They didn't make the playoff. They beat Clemson. But, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, kind of is what it is.
Well, what about LSU?
Yeah, LSU. I mean, Nussmeier's back. They've had a great portal class. Brian Kelly's a good football coach. Why not? I don't know how much Ole Miss reloaded, but they've got a new quarterback, so I don't really put them in that top tier. But I look at LSU and Alabama. Georgia's good, in a lot of places. And of course, Texas now with Arch Manning. But they got some reloading to do too. So I think those are probably the 4 schools that I would probably put in tier 1 right now.
Outstanding stuff.
Yeah. So, and guys, I got to tell you, I really like doing your show, because I think you guys ask really insightful questions. And I always get off your show. I said, man, I hope I didn't get myself in trouble. That means you guys ask good questions.
Here's what's going to happen. I'm telling you, the state business incubators are going to be clipping that little segment about that, and that's going to be a well.
That's you got to know that. You guys live there. I mean, this has got to be pretty well known that Alabama is like on the verge of breaking out. I mean, just look at the growth in the Southeast in the business climate, and look at how it's grown and where it's grown, and then take a look at the real estate values. And you say, oh, my goodness, look at what it costs to live in Tennessee. Look at what it costs to live in Georgia. Look at where it costs to live in Florida. And then there's that next state over. There it is.
I've already gotten a text from a buddy of mine that's with the Business Council of Alabama. He really appreciated that shout out.
Well, it's true. I listen. I've always been I wait. Yeah, I mean, I have seen the growth. I go to Mobile and I see it, and certainly Birmingham has ballooned, and Huntsville's. Just
even Montgomery. We're booming here in the capital as well.
It's happened, man. So that's why I think that this we are in a really good time. For these next 4 years, at least for the state of Alabama, I think it's there's a reason why Donald Trump, that plane landed in Tuscaloosa, right? I mean, that wasn't a coincidence. I mean, that is fertile ground.
It is. People were wondering who would get the longest and loudest ovation, Saban or Trump, last Thursday night, and it looked pretty equal to me.
Yeah, pretty equal.
Yeah, I don't know how they got both those egos in the same room, but there's certainly some leaders that are confident in their ways. And,
yes.
And I'm a big believer, and again, I know you don't want to turn the show politically upside down, but, look, I'm a veteran. I served in the military. And, I served the flag, okay, our way of life and the people that sacrificed. And we've got a system where you pull the lever every 4 years. And once you pull the lever, you have a new commander in chief and a new leader. And I'm a big believer that, now it's time to, support whoever is in office. And I've voted for different presidents, different years, but that's the person in charge. Just imagine being on a football team, getting a new coach going, you know what, I don't like this coach. I'm not going to play as hard for him. That team is not going to be as good. You don't have to like the new coach. You've got a position and an opportunity in this country. And that's why it's the greatest country in the world. That's how this country was built, was on opportunity. And when I talk, I love to interview Uber drivers, love to interview them, because these are some of the most industrious, hardworking people you're ever going to find. And a lot of them are from other countries. And they'll tell you, I came here because of these great opportunities. And I can work hard, and I can get 2 jobs, and I can, do these great things for my family. And, you turn on the news and you're like, what are these people? I know our country has problems, but my goodness, this is still the best place on earth to live. And I've met people I met some woman from England, and she said, you know what it is about Americans? You just think your country is so great. Well, that's because it is.
Yeah.
Because we won the war.
Yeah, it is the great.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen,
man, we could go on all day, but man, we greatly appreciate your time. We're going to do this again real soon, I promise.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, buddy. Mike Griffith, AJC Dog Nation, man, always a ton of good stuff out of Mike. We'll see him at Media Days this summer, and always enjoy having him on. All right, Gurn Jr.'s back at Network Control. He was doing a little production. He's ready to go. Got to catch up on some breaks. CJ Duncan at the top of the hour.
Coming up in association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Ford announces employee pricing on every new 24 and most new 25 Fords, and only at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, up to $5,000 below employee pricing, plus no payments for 90 days. From America, for America, at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, home of America's best-selling truck for nearly 50 years in a row, the F-150, with hundreds to choose from. The Ford Escape, the Ford Edge, and the Ford Bronco, all priced at thousands below invoice. And pack up the crew in a Ford Expedition or a Ford Explorer for the beach, the lake, or the big game. It's all at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Okay, back at it about 18 minutes to the top of the hour. A little long there with Mike, but hey, we could have gone on all day. He is he's got a lot of interest and a lot of thoughts on a lot of different subjects, and I don't know who could talk longer, Barry, Mike Griffith or Larry Blakeney. Larry could talk a lot.
Yep, I used to do all of those Trojan Talk coaches shows with Coach Blakeney, and it would be great. That was back in the day when coaches call-in shows would be call-in shows. You would take calls, and man, all I ever had to do was open up the show, take the commercial breaks, and close the show out.
Did Robbie from Greenville call Coach Blakeney on his show a lot?
He didn't call a lot, but he did call. And I mean, you know how I am. You got one more break left in the hour.
Yeah.
It's 47 after. You look on your call sheet and it says Robbie/Greenville, and you're like, let me do the math here. We take a break here. We'll be back at 10 till. And it's not like, how do we fill that final 10 minutes? It's like, how do I cut Robbie short so we can get, with Coach Blakeney in 10 minutes. So, yeah, Mike is he's not wrong, John. And we're talking about college athletics, and I agree with so much of what he says anyway. But he's not wrong about Alabama. He really isn't. I mean, we're in it. We're in the middle of it. I'm not a native Alabamian, but I am now. I've lived here well over, about 2/3 of my life in the state of Alabama, and I don't want to go anywhere else. Sometimes I think the biggest weakness amongst the citizenships in the state of Alabama, John, are two. Number one, we sell ourselves short. This is a fantastic place to live. Am I right?
Yep.
I mean, it's not perfect. Sure, there's problems. There's educational difficulties. There's, we're still trying to get up to speed in terms of economic growth and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, the opportunities here are amazing. Number two, I think we fight amongst ourselves too much. We don't share, common vision like we should. But yeah, that was great.
I think you're right about that, and I'm with you. I've said it many, many times. I've been to a lot of places on this planet, but I always end up back in Montgomery. And I've lived here all my life, and I've loved it. I still do. If I need to get somewhere, I can get to the beach. I can get to Atlanta, Nashville, New Orleans in no time. I can get on an airplane and be wherever I want in no time at a very convenient and hassle-free economical airport. The climate's great. Can get a little hot in August and September, but I get it. No big deal. And there's a lot. I mean, even here in the state, from the white beaches to, the mountains in the northeast part of the state, it's amazing the topography here. And so, yeah, I'm with you. Totally. And then the business environment, he's right. I mean, the business environment is incredible. Look at all the automobile manufacturers that are here in the state. Airplane manufacturers that are in the state, just some of the bigger, and then all of the others that have trickled in behind them and kind of filled in some of the other spots as well that aren't as big as some of the automobile and airplane manufacturers, but certainly worthy and very, very important to our economy. So, yeah, I mean, he's exactly right.
Speaking of that, and you touched on it briefly, we enjoy very much here down at Troy the convenience flying in and out of the Montgomery Regional Airport. Heck, the last time we were there, we ran into Troy volleyball coach Josh Lauer, assistant coach Brian Musenfecter, student assistant coach Julia Brooks. They were flying out of the Montgomery Regional Airport to go recruiting, and they, Josh was good enough, Coach Lauer was good enough to be on the show with us, impromptu, real quick. We told you about it then, and we'll tell you about it now. Nothing beats the convenience of the Montgomery Regional Airport for our area. But if you're traveling in there right now, whistling a tune, listening to Longshore and McKnight on Spotify on your trip into the Montgomery Regional Airport, and you ain't got your star ID yet, today is the deadline. We told you we can't do it for you. John's too busy. He can't take you by the hand and walk you into whatever, the county courthouse or whatever, and said, now this is what you got to do. Sign right here. Notate this. Bring this. Now, it's up to you. And if you waited until now and you're planning on taking a flight today, well,
I'm going to turn on some of the national networks later today just to kind of see what the airport congestion is like for all the – what? I got to have what? What are you talking about? Yeah,
nobody told me.
Today is the day. It's all over MGM. There are placards and signs all over the place. They have been for months and months, letting you know you better get your star ID. So get that taken care of, or you're going to be delayed big time. I can promise you that. Right. Barry, as I usually do in the mornings, there's a certain routine I go through when I wake up.
Second thing he does every morning is check out Philip Marshall, auburnundercover.com.
And I didn't read this closely enough because Philip's headline, how can you not be impressed by Lisenby's determination? For some reason, I saw that capital L, and I just, in my mind, I guess I fantasized, how can you not be impressed by Longshore's determination? That's how I saw it when I first saw that headline. I thought, wow, Philip is writing a column about how determined I've been to make sure I read his column every time it drops.
I didn't read it. And I read Philip really whatever his paycheck is.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they mail it to him, an actual check.
No direct deposit? You don't think
he doesn't know that.
No? Okay.
Whenever they mail him his check, honestly, I feel if I was him, I would feel compelled to scratch out a little gratuity for John Longshore because nobody directs more subscribers, potential subscribers, readers, Auburn fans to Philip Marshall more than John does. I've known who Philip is. I've covered events, with Philip in attendance. I've covered press conferences. I can tell you some stories about Philip in some of the press conferences. And I didn't read him that much. I mean, and I read a lot.
Yeah.
But ever since I got with John, and John is, a big Philip guy, I've read him more, and I've noticed certain things. One of them is that one of probably his favorite writing device that he uses to force his point is he'll ask himself questions.
It's beautiful.
Will the Auburn Tigers contend for the SEC championship this year? Only time will tell. Or will Hugh Freeze be the answer to lead the Auburn program? We shall see. That's how he does it. But John, when he begins an article, a column, when his column headline is a question, how can you not be impressed by Lisenby's determination? That's the headline.
I have no idea who Lisenby is.
Well, that's what I was about to say. That's how you cannot be impressed by Lisenby's determination. You don't know Lisenby from your Adam's house cat. That's how I cannot be impressed by I don't know who. Turns out Lisenby is the Auburn softball catcher.
Oh,
her first name is Aubrey.
Huh.
And he points out it's not by accident that Aubrey Lisenby's first name starts with those three letters. A-U-B.
Go figure. Well, here, Barry, is what I don't know how determined Aubrey Lisenby is, but I'm a little bummed out that Philip wasn't determined enough to give us a blow-by-blow, inning-by-inning recap of what happened in Athens, Georgia last night. I think if it would have been the other way around, we would have had this magical night in Athens as Auburn slams in-state rival during SEC tournament. Unfortunately, it was the other way around, so he didn't even mention it.
They played well in Tuesday's loss to Alabama in Georgia. They hit some balls really hard that were caught. They made some terrific plays in the field.
You know what that's called, Barry? A long out.
A long, loud out. The Tigers, this is Philip now, quote, this is softball. Bear with us. The Tigers will get an NCAA regional bid come Sunday. I believe they have a chance to make some noise. And here we go again. Why would I believe that about a team that finished 6-18 in the SEC? Here's why. After losing their first 12 SEC games, the Tigers pulled themselves together and won 4 out of the last 5 series.
That? They love
Best
each
freshman
other.
hitter in the country, Annalee Adams. Yeah, they started, and I know. Hey, listen, if it happens, I'm okay with it. Have enjoyed very greatly my scholarship at Auburn, my association doing broadcasts at Auburn and all that. I like it when they win. But 6-18 in the SEC, and Philip is pounding the drum to make the NCAA tournament. Should that really happen? I mean, if you just take the word Auburn out of it, take anybody's emotions or allegiances or prejudice. If you're 6-18 in your league, should you be able to go on to the next level of competition?
Well, when Griff said he was at the softball tournament yesterday, and I immediately thought about the Auburn-Alabama game, and we didn't even mention it before Griff joined us. We didn't do it on purpose, just inadvertently overlooked it. But I wrote it down. I said, we got to go back to this softball story. And I saw some highlights of it. I wonder what it was on. Where did I see that last night? But anyway, little disappointed he didn't make that the headline. But be that as it may, if this team does go on to bigger and better things and wins, good for them. I'm all for it.
Yeah. My buddy Jason Jones, great friend of mine, says, great points by Mike Griffith. There's a reason I'm opening a new store in Foley. Of course, Jason with Jones Medical Supply in Troy, CPAP Plus,
Yeah.
They've got locations in Dothan. There's a new one there. Jason drawing a blank, but there's one. He just opened one down in Foley, a CPAP Plus down there. It's a great place for small business. It's a great place for growing business. Yeah.
I'm down that way a lot, and I tell you, it is. I mean, Foley, Fairhope, Alberta, I mean, you name it. All those little communities down there in Baldwin County are booming. And, of course, the closer you get to the Gulf of America, things are booming even more. Griff mentioned the international airport that's going in there at Gulf Shores. Just the construction and the development is amazing. I just don't want people to find out about my little square over there that nobody's found out about. And I learned my lesson when I told everybody how to avoid the traffic going into Tuscaloosa. You turn right there by the Coca-Cola warehouse. Now everybody does it. So I'm not telling anybody where I am and what to do because I don't want you there.
Listen, I spent a lot of my lifetime, my dad's family, I spent every summer there, and actually was enrolled in a high school in Port St. Joe, Florida, one of 4 high schools I was enrolled in. And I remember back when Port St. Joe, sleepy little town on what they called the Forgotten Coast. Well, it's people have found out about it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I meant that
and
as
I
well.
think I've shared this. Barry, I remember as a child going across the Destin Bridge from Okaloosa Island, because, from Fort Walton to Destin, there's about a 4 or 5 mile stretch of nothing but sand.
Nothing.
Once you pass the Ramada Inn or Gulf Barium or whatever it was, you didn't see
that had the pool that had the big mountain in the middle of it. You could swim underneath that, and there's a bar in there.
That was Ramada Inn. It certainly was. Once you passed that, there was nothing but sand till you got to the Destin Bridge. As a child, Barry, I remember when the Destin Bridge was a 2-lane bridge. It wasn't 4-lane, it was 2-lane.
Yeah.
And you think about what Destin, before Sandestin, before 30A, all that business, you're talking about a sleepy little town in Northwest
Little
Florida.
fishing village. Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. Anyway, we're encouraging people to do business in Alabama, to grow Alabama, just not too much. Let's keep it controlled here.
Yeah, some areas we don't want to see that much growth.
Let's take a break.
Let's take when we come back. Duncan's coming back.
Yeah, from every Wednesday. Look forward to his visit. It's next. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, Mary Ann is joining me from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry in Pepper Tree on Vaughn Road. And Mary Ann, the month of May is here. So many great things going on. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it's May already. So many exciting things. We've got Mother's Day, graduations, weddings, showers, you name it. In May, we've got it. It's a jam-packed holiday-filled month, and we are ready to go to help you at Marguerite's because it is Earring Fest coupled with the rest of that. So what better way to help celebrate the lady in your life or the person in your life than beautiful earrings? Because, earrings, you don't have to worry about what size. They all fit.
They do all fit. You're right about that. With Mother's Day fast approaching, Earring Fest would be a great way to show Mom how much you appreciate her and love her, and so many different earring styles to choose from. Graduation gifts for the high school and college graduate as well. May seems to be a month that people like to pop the question as well. So you got that going on. And we can't forget, Mary Ann, birthstone emerald. I think I'm right on that for May.
Great job. Yes. I almost forgot. How dare I? Yes. Well played there, sir. It is emerald. So beautiful gemstone, lots of beautiful hues of green. We've got them in store at Marguerite's. Earrings, necklaces, rings, you've got it. So for all the May babies out there, you've got a great birthstone. Make sure that the person you love knows that you love those beautiful green emeralds.
Well, we know Marguerite's is open 7 days a week. Tell us where you're located and your hours of operation.
Sure. We're at 8163 Vaughn Road in the Pepper Tree Shopping Center, 7 days a week, 10 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday.
May is going to be fantastic at Marguerite's. Make sure you go by and see them. Thank you so much, Mary Ann.
Thanks.
So, Barry, someone told me to tell you hello yesterday. I was out at Marguerite's, and I walked in, and boom, there's Lyle. Lyle was in town yesterday.
I like it.
He was all tanned up, had the flowery kind of beach shirt on,
Nice,
had the sandals, and he had that I don't know what that device is called. I know it's got a name. There's a term. That little thing you stick in your eye when you're looking at diamonds and jewelry.
Oh, I like that deal.
Yeah,
I like that thing.
He was looking at some diamonds when I walked into his office, and I said, "Man, I ain't seen you in a while, Lyle." He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna be in town for a couple of weeks." And I said, "Well, awesome." So he told me to tell you hello.
I guess every jeweler has those. Remember way back when Saturday Night Live was just starting, you had Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi and stuff. Best commercial they ever did on that was the guy who was doing the circumcision. You know.
What wasn't that Father Guido Sarducci or something?
No, that was a different guy. But you know, they were talking about the ride. I think it was of the LTD or something like that. The ride is so smooth, and they had the guy in the back with the little thing on there, and he did it perfect. You know, it was.
I do remember that. I sure do.
We had one of those things. I'll always remember that. Like,
that was good. That was good. Hey, our man CJ Duncan, Yellowhammer News, joining us here as he does each and every Wednesday. Man, he is. Got the coat and tie working today. Hey, CJ, how you doing this morning?
How you doing, guys? I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Great. Glad you can drop in and spend at least a couple of minutes with us. You look busy this morning. You got things to accomplish today, it looks like, CJ.
Well, you know what? We are closing out the legislative session this week in Montgomery, and so, as you know, as a representative of Spire, I am full steam ahead, trying to finish strong, and we'll head to our off season here in a couple weeks.
Well, you know, that sounds a lot like the athletic year in college athletics, trying to finish out strong in that and get into the off season. In college football right now in May, I know sometimes the schedule or the calendar has changed. What are they doing right now, CJ?
Yeah. Well, you know what? In May, I was always the guy who came back for the summer, right? I took summer classes. I make sure I'm there to run routes with the quarterback, make sure we get on the same page, all those kind of things. So right now during May, this is my time actually with my family. You don't get to see your family very often during the year. So this is the time I would actually come back to Montgomery. Some guys would stay for a Maymester, as they called it, and you take classes and make sure you catch up on work that you may have fell behind on, whether it was in the fall or the spring. But for me, I was always in pretty good standing academically, so I would be able to come home in May, and I would just hang out with my family, train, do all the things I needed to do, knowing that I had class starting in June.
So is May, is the summer a good time for athletes to catch up academically? Because I got to think once the season starts, CJ, your time is so limited that maybe the May and the summer is a good time to catch up on your classwork.
You're exactly right. I mean, during the season, you want to take the amount of time that they require you to take to be eligible. That's how many classes you take.
I wasn't an athlete, and that was still my philosophy.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. You want to take the classes that they require you to take, and that's it, right? And then you load up in the spring, and then you take. I always took my harder classes in the summer, because they give you a little bit more time to deal with those kind of harder classes. I took econ during the summer kind of thing. Ooh. So, but yeah, during the fall, you take kind of, your easier classes, you take the exact amount of hours that they require. And then in the spring, you load up a little bit. So,
well, let me take advantage of your Vanderbilt education, your econ classes, and ask you about this. Earlier today, we had a guest, Mike Griffith from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, joined us, and we were talking about how it seems like it's really going to be difficult for schools in the SEC to keep up financially with what the University of Texas is doing and spending and committing and the resources that they've got and all the success they're having because of it. And he went off on a little bit of tangent about how the state of Alabama is really primed for growth. The state seems like it's, poised for just an economic explosion to maybe not catch up with Texas or something like that, but to really provide more infrastructure for people to be able to support their universities, for instance, support their universities' academics and teams. How do you feel about this state or the potential for economic growth in the state of Alabama?
Well, I think you're right, and your guest was right as well. I mean, geographically, we only have so many resources, right? And I think Texas, they benefit from being where they're from, right? But the state of Alabama is very primed, and I think you have a lot of people that love football, and they love their university, and they love where they grew up, and I think all those things. Also mixed in with a little bit of politics, kind of makes Alabama very primed for the future when it comes to NIL, when it comes to all those things. I think people are really diving in and they're taking a closer look at what it takes to make sure that our two schools, or our two big schools at least, are successful. There's been bills that have come up about, how do we compete with Georgia? Georgia just recently did a no income tax on NIL, and
NIL.
we've looked at it here as well. There's a lot of things. Not saying that I am for or against any of those things, but the conversation is up now in Alabama, and people are really wanting to find a competitive advantage here in Alabama. And economically, I'm telling you, we are doing all the right things. We're making all the right moves, spending the right money to make sure that business feels very comfortable here in Alabama, and we're making sure that we have incentives in place for when they're ready to come. So we're just getting started here in Alabama.
That's what I figured
Man,
too. Yeah,
that's exciting to
Agreed.
hear.
Mhm.
CJ, I want to go back to academics, something that, I got to admit, wasn't on the top of my list of things to talk about. I'm just curious, when you stepped into your first class at Vanderbilt, obviously you were a good student here in Montgomery at St. James. When you stepped into the classroom at Vanderbilt, was it what you were expecting? Was it a little more than you thought? I mean, because there's this feeling that, man, Vanderbilt just nobody can touch them academically. And I think that's proven out. What were your thoughts your first couple of times going to class at Vanderbilt?
You know what? First few times going to class at Vanderbilt, I was cruising. I will give a shout out to St. James, and Miss Fields, our English teacher, senior year. She had us overly prepared for college.
I love
At
that.
one
Yes.
point she was a professor, so you know, while my friends were figuring out how to, write a paper and figuring out how to cite a paper and all this, that was second nature to me at this point, right? So, first few classes, I was actually getting A's and performing really well. It wasn't until I got into my major that I really had to. I was really pushed, honestly, and I had to really lock in. And it is what they say it is, right? I took pre-law in the political science track, and then I did corporate. You know, did corporate business as well as my minor. So definitely was pushed and had some really good professors, people that are way smarter than me, and they gave me an opportunity to learn a lot of things and to kind of push me outside my comfort zone as well. So, but I will say, when it came to the sciences, that was the worst part of Vanderbilt. I couldn't wait to get out of those classes, but physics and all and you had to take, it was a whole ordeal. I was just like, just get me out of here, And you have to take the lab to go with the class as well.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, nah,
Yeah.
nah. I'm out of here. Yeah. So
With that being said, I mean, you were successful at a rigorous academic institution. You were successful athletically at Vanderbilt, which is not easy to do. It's the time of year right now, and the calendar is skewed again from what you were used to, where high school prospective student athletes are getting on-campus visits. They're getting contacts and stuff like that. What questions, football specific, what questions should high school, senior, junior, prospective student athletes be asking on their visits?
So right now, you're in May. And right now, you want to know who's really interested in you, right? You don't want to go to every camp under the sun. That I'm sure that would be your first instinct, but you want to go to the camps that you're invited to. Those are folks that are actually interested. Coaches will actually say, "Hey, we've got this guy coming to this camp. We want you to be there as well. Let's see y'all next to each other. Let's see y'all compete against each other." That's where you get your offers from, right? And they've also started
Okay.
this thing, that wasn't really around when I was coming through, satellite camps. I don't know if you all have heard about that, but
Yeah.
my little brother actually got his first offer when he was in like ninth grade, from a satellite camp, where it's basically you have somebody host a camp and there's 10 other schools also
Right.
there as well. And so I'm all for satellite camps. It gives you a lot of exposure, but when it comes to going to universities, you want to be on the phone, on Twitter, whatever it is, talking to these coaches and see how interested they are. And if they're asking you to come to camp, that's a good opportunity for you to try to move up their board, when it comes to that. And it's tough right now for high school guys, right? With the portal and everything, coaches are wanting older guys that are ready to play now. They want to plug and play. And so, if you're not one of those guys, if you're not prepared as a high school kid, it is a lot tougher for you to get a scholarship and to get on the field.
I would say so. It is a very dog eat dog world out there. We saw it in the NFL. We saw it in the latest draft in the NFL, and it's trickling down to the college, even into the high school games as well. CJ, I know you're busy this morning. Obviously, I got the coat and tie on. Some major business is about to take place, I feel, down there in the State House. So we'll let you go and get taking care of that. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys. Always a pleasure doing this with you. I look forward to next week.
And we always do as well. Thanks very much, CJ Duncan.
Thank you, sir.
With great content always here with Longshore and McKnight. Great to have that perspective from him. Yeah, there's a lot going on up in Goat Hill right about now.
You better believe it. There is.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. Obviously, his high school background prepared him extremely well. I would think there would be a little intimidation factor walking into a class at Vanderbilt for the first couple of times. But CJ mentioned, man, he was confident. He knew he was ready, prepared, ready to go. Without
giving away too much, of my life story or anything like that. I went to we moved around a good bit. I was enrolled in 4 different high schools, went to 3 because we moved, before I could actually go to the first one I was enrolled in. So I was always the new kid, always, hey, just trying to figure out, get up to speed with what this high school is all about and make friends and all that. So, I always felt like I was, and academically, getting the credits to transfer in from the place I went 2 schools ago and all that. It was not easy, but I was always, the new kid and everything. And I was pretty amiable, friendly guy. It wasn't that hard, but it was different. When I first went to school at the University of Florida, which is where I went right out of high school, I thought, well, this is going to be great. We're all in the same boat. We're all new students right now. I'm not the new kid anymore. We're all new kids. And I'll never forget the first class I took at the University of Florida had something like 1,800 students in it. I mean, it was one of those core classes you got to take as a freshman to be able to move on. I said 800 students in there. And I thought that was the intimidating thing. I'm thinking, holy smokes, we didn't have this many people in my entire school. So that was intimidating for me, but I did okay. And, transferred to Auburn, and the classes were challenging. They were never not challenging, but the difficulty for me, I mean, you're at Florida, you're at Auburn, fun schools and everything. I was always a note taker and all that. But when I got done with class and I'd get back to my dorm or my apartment or whatever like that, it was sure hard to study. Going to classes is one thing. Doing your work outside of class, John, ooh, that's a struggle.
Yeah, that was tough.
I'll do that. Yeah, I got these notes here. So salute to CJ for having the
Boy,
the
no
discipline to get a
kidding.
Vanderbilt degree. And I love the fact that he shouted out Miss Fields, his English teacher at St. James. St. James is a tough school. Heck,
Sure.
MA is a tough
Heck,
school. All of them, Trinity, the whole schmear. And you can go into a place like Vanderbilt and you're prepared.
Yeah.
Whew.
That's pretty
That's
impressive.
something about Ms. Fields and the English
Yes.
curriculum and the curriculum at St. James. That's a big shout out. I like
to
that.
Miss Fields. That was great from CJ Duncan. Man, I know. Hopefully, she'll hear about that today. I believe she will. Barry, I don't know if you've got it on your calendar. I don't know if you've marked it down.
All right.
Do you know what a week from today is? A week from tonight, most specifically? What happens a week from tonight?
No, I do not.
Wow.
May 14th.
It is the annual NFL schedule release a week from tonight.
We've already seen prospective schedules. These are mock schedules and all that. We gotta do a feature on that. We gotta have that on the topic wheel.
No doubt. Obviously, once it is revealed next week, Thursday, we'll be talking about it a lot. Love the schedule reveal. I think college ought to do that. Do we really need to know the future schedules? Let's just have a big pomp and circumstance and have a big reveal.
Nah, that need to be pomp and circumstance. Here's what I'm envisioning. SEC, for instance, SEC, here they are. Got to do it in conjunction with media days. No, that's too late.
Yeah.
No, it's got to be its own. All right, got to be its own standalone.
And I want to say they did maybe, Barry, when Texas and Oklahoma were their first official year. I want to say they did that last year. They had a schedule reveal because of Texas and Oklahoma coming into the league and who they were going to play and where they were going to play and all that kind of stuff. We already know the schedule is set for 2025, so I guess they can't have a reveal. But I would think if they go to 9 games or whatever they change up for 26 and beyond, the SEC will have some type of schedule reveal as well.
Couldn't you see it? Couldn't you see it? And now, live from wherever, with the 2027 Southeastern Conference football schedule release, let's go live to our hosts, John Longshore and Barry McKnight.
We've been talking schedules forever.
We'd have the big board behind us, hey, and we'd play it up. It wouldn't be. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we release the schedule for 2027 for the Bulldogs of Mississippi. Like, hey, we're here with Mississippi State head coach Jeff Levy. Coach, come on in. Hey, what do you
Hey, where'd you get that
about
job?
it? You've got 3 straight road games. You don't have your first bye until late October. What's up with that? Well, that ticks me off, John, to be honest. I mean,
do you think Texas got an easy road there, Coach? Because, I'm telling you.
I'm telling you, John, they obviously have slipped a little money under the table to Sankey. How in the world can they get an off week in week 3 and an off week before they play us? That's totally unfair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Coach. Let's move on. It's such that'd be
beautiful.
We could play that thing up.
You better know it. So
I
think that's coming in 26. But the NFL schedule release is next week. Always look forward to that. But speaking of schedules, Barry, Tobias with a shout out this morning on our chat line. You can get involved on our chats as well. There's some NBA scheduling, and it's tonight. We got some last night, too, that we probably need to go over as well, as Tobias points out.
Thank you, Phantom. Well, we got to hold off on you, Tobias. We got to hold off on you. Because when we come back, it beats anything I've ever seen before. The Phantom with his daily dog.
Phantom's daily dog.
We'll update it with results from last night. And the Phantom's going to haul off and give you another one. You don't want to miss it.
I think it's going to happen.
Yep. Missed it. Yep. It's next. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. Great to have you in. Make sure you hit, where is it right down here? Just right down there. That like button. The subscribe button over there. Make sure to tell your friends. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Known by avid golfers as one of the most beautiful and challenging stops on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail, Cambrian Ridge in Greenville lies just 40 miles from Montgomery. It is well worth the ride for any golfer looking for 27 holes of jaw-dropping golf. The greens have been redesigned to accommodate the higher green speeds associated with their installation of the latest generation of ultra-dwarf Bermuda grass. Cambrian Ridge offers a fully stocked pro shop with all the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Cambrian Ridge for tee times and more information.
All right, man, grab a Budweiser and take a knee. It is the best time of the year. It's baseball season. That means sunshine. It means behind-the-back peanut tosses. And it means sharing some cold, frosty Budweisers with your boys. Because there's nothing more American than watching America's game with America's beer. So let me ask you something. Are you ready to bring your A game? Are you ready to cheer every frozen rope down the line and amazing catch at the warning track? Are you ready for pitchers' duels and slugfests? Tell me, are you ready for the thrill of an incredible walk-off victory? I can't hear you. Are you ready for Budweiser and baseball? Then get on your feet, raise an ice-cold Bud, and let's make this season larger than life. Great times are waiting. Grab some Bud!
Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
You're not buying sticks, stems, and pine cones. You're buying premium long-diddle pine straw from River Region Straw. Kenny and his staff have access to the best pine straw in the River region, full of color that will last all season long. Kenny has locations in Montgomery, Prattville, and Auburn, and no order is too big or too small, from a few bales to an 18-wheeler trailer load. Pickup is available, or your order can be delivered. They can even spread your pine straw if you like. So call or text Kenny today, 669-5959. That's 669-5959 for all of your pine straw needs. All righty, welcome back in, everybody. 22 minutes past the hour here on this Wednesday. Before we move on, Barry, check out Will on our chat line today.
Will has discovered us. I love it. He says, wow, I listened to you guys when I was in college at AUM. So good to find you guys on YouTube. I live in Atlanta, and this is cool. Outstanding, Will. Outstanding. People, tell your friends. Let everybody else know about it. And we would appreciate it. We kind of like it. We like what we're doing here. We work hard at it. I can promise you that. And we're glad that he's rediscovered us, John. Now,
yes,
I got to take. We flashed this up in the last segment just as kind of a tease. T. Smitty, who's also known as Tobias. Nope, wrong one. Let me hit the right one. Here we go. Yeah, he says, thank you, Phantom. Pacers plus 9.5 last night was easy money. Tobias. There wasn't nothing easy about that one last night from the Pacers. Get this. And the Phantom had the Pacers plus the 9.5 against the Cavaliers. Cavaliers, the number 1 seed in the East. And they were all that. You think it was easy for the Phantom to be sitting there watching that game where the Pacers were down 20 in that game, and the Phantom says, well, all good things must. They were, Tobias, they were down 7 in the last 48 seconds, and the Phantom's going, oh, snap, I can't. I knew I shouldn't have picked them.
Yeah,
and they won it.
I'm
the Pacers not only covered, but they won the game outright.
They did. And you're right. I was a little concerned at the 48-second mark, 48 seconds to go.
Yeah.
Down 7. I didn't need some little 3 to go in. I didn't need a late run or no defense by the Pacers. They played really good defense. As a matter of fact, a huge key steal late in that game was huge for the Pacers. But yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of the NBA. I mean, there are a lot of ebbs and flows, and you can have a 20-point lead. The next thing you know, you're down by 7.
All right. So officially, here's the recap. Last night or yesterday during the show, the Phantoms' daily dog was the Pacers plus the 9.5.
Yeah.
Against the Cavaliers. And Pacers didn't need the points.
They didn't.
They won it outright. Tyrese Halliburton, you just got to check it out. The game-winning shot from Halliburton, unbelievable. And they won it. Here's what's happening.
And Barry, we didn't need that game-winning shot, but hey, we'll take it.
Hey, if you treat the Phantom right, the Phantom hopes good things happen too.
Yes,
that's all there is to it.
That's right.
What's happening here? Sure, the Phantom is on the cusp of what, 8 straight?
That was 8 straight last night.
But what the Phantom is taking advantage of, which nobody, I don't think, but him saw coming, was the 2025 postseason in the NBA, and the Phantom is riding it like a wave, has already been crazy nuts. There have been, in the playoffs, the Phantom didn't pick all of these, but in the playoffs, there have already been 4 20-point comeback wins. That one last night was one of them. That's the most in a single postseason ever. And for the first time ever in the NBA playoffs, all 4 lower-seeded teams won their openers in the second round. All 4 of them did.
On the road
teams. Yeah, road teams are 5-0. That ain't supposed to be happening. The Phantom is taking it.
As we were watching the ending of that Pacers-Cavs game last night, I looked over at Mrs. Phantom and said, every road team has won since the conference semifinals started. And she looked at me like, huh? I mean,
do you not realize how important that is? The road teams have won every one.
I went, that doesn't really happen. I don't think it's ever. If it has ever happened, it's been a long time ago. So the road teams are playing really well. Cleveland is in a state of shock. One of the better teams in the regular season, down 0-2, having to travel to Indianapolis for their game 3. But the road teams have been playing well. So that brings us to tonight.
Yeah.
And you kind of wonder, what's going on here with these road teams? And I think Vegas is factoring that in. The New York Knicks on the road tonight at Boston. The Knicks lead this series 1-0. The Knicks won earlier in Boston.
They did.
Denver also leads Oklahoma City 1-0. They won earlier. They play tonight in Oklahoma City. A lot of people believe Oklahoma City's the best team in the NBA.
Yeah. I'm one of those.
A lot of people have not seen them play because the Lakers are usually on every night.
And both of those games that you're talking about, the line is double digits.
It is. Both of these games, double-digit dogs here. And it's an interesting spot because both the road teams won on the road earlier in the week. You got to think both these home teams, Boston and Oklahoma City, got their backs against the wall, cannot go down 0-2 before they hit the road. I do not think that's going to happen. I will say this, Barry, I do think both home teams will win tonight. What I'm looking for is what home team do I think will not cover the spread tonight in the games. And that's interesting. That the total in the Oklahoma City Denver game is 229.5. The total in the Boston-New York Knicks game, 211.5. So obviously more points expected to be scored in OKC tonight. Does that favor a team that's getting 11.5? You got to kind of wonder there if it gets into a score fest.
I see what you're saying. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, it's a good angle.
I've seen the Knicks play quite a bit in this in the postseason, and I like what I see out of them. I like what I see out of the Knicks. I like that 10.5 there as well. But, Barry, we're going to go with the Denver Nuggets tonight, catching 11.5 at Oklahoma City on TNT. The game tips at 8:30 tonight. It is the second part of a double header, 11.5. I know Denver's old, but, Barry, I think they got some players over there that have been there. They've done this in postseason. They're not fooling around. And if I remember correctly, Denver fired their coach right before postseason.
Like 3 weeks before the end of the season. Got rid of him, the coach.
Yeah.
And their GM. I mean, they played in the finals a couple of years ago.
That's right.
And people are saying, what's going on? This is crazy. Well, now the ownership is going, 1-0 lead over the best team in the NBA. This is why we did it. They're so lucky. That's all pure luck involved there, but I'm with you there. I think they get under the 11.5 in that one.
11.5 is the number tonight. So there you have it. That's what we're going with. The Denver Nuggets on the road at OKC. And one thing I did notice, I'm going to look closely tonight as well. The upper deck of the facility there, there didn't look to be a lot of people in the stands in Oklahoma City. I know it's a smaller market, and it was dark. And they weren't showing it, but when they would give me a wide angle, you could see the floor levels section, the mid section. But that upper deck looked a little sparse up there. So maybe the home court is not what we think it is in OKC. We'll take it, but I'm taking the Nuggets and the points tonight.
Well, I'm predisposed towards rooting for the small market teams. I really, really like Oklahoma City, and they're just the storyline. I mean, Cinderella story out of nowhere, tears in their eyes, I guess, and they've got the best record in the NBA. But I'm really starting to feel maybe this Indiana Pacer team is a team of destiny. One more number. I threw those stats at you earlier. John and I have been together as an on-air combination together. I mean, his career goes further back than just our association. Mine goes way further back. But since we've been together, since 1997, when trailing by 7 or more points in the final minute of the fourth quarter or overtime in the playoffs, teams are 3 wins and 1,640 losses. When trailing by 7+ points in the final minute of the game, whether it's fourth quarter or overtime. The Pacers have 2 of those 3 wins, both of them in this playoffs. They may be a team of destiny.
Didn't the Indiana Pacers hit 3 threes in 13 seconds against the New York Knicks in an NBA postseason game?
This is John asking a loaded question because he knows bloody well that they did, because that has been what has kept John for many years from ever even thinking about wagering money on the NBA anymore. They did something like a 30 for 30 on it.
They did. Reggie
Not
Miller.
necessarily because John, because it just broke John, not only financially, but broke his spirit a little bit.
Reggie Miller. I don't think it was the money that I lost on the game. It was the way in which I lost it. I think that affected me 10 times more than having to pay off local man.
People came over to John's house the next day. John, and they got a pass key, came in. John's still sitting on his couch looking at his television, which somebody has turned off.
Yeah.
With his mouth wide open, going, wait a minute. Turn those machines back on.
Barry, that game was on a Sunday afternoon, and I was believe it or not, I was at a bar on a Sunday afternoon watching that game. I can still remember it. That was 30 years ago. if not longer. He's
And Reggie Miller had gotten into a little bit of verbal joust with Spike Lee.
Oh,
On the
sure.
sidelines. 8 points from Reggie Miller in 8.9 seconds. That was, oh my gosh, John, that was 30 years ago today.
I can remember
30
today.
years ago today, May
Oh.
7th, 1995, game 1 of the Eastern Conference semifinals.
Can remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah. Tom Hammond was doing the play-by-play. It's not just John that says this, but just say to any NBA fan, 8 points in 8.9 seconds, and they know what you're talking about.
Yep.
And after it was over with, Reggie, do you remember this? Reggie, Spike Lee's been chewing on him the whole game from the sidelines. Reggie gives him this.
Yeah.
Shut up, Spike Lee.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's like the throat slash. I mean, people say it's offensive or you can't do it. We're not.
It's
I mean, we're
fun,
we're over all the we're
not
over
really
all that.
meaning to decapitate somebody. But yeah, so that's our Phantom Daily Dog.
There you have it.
Feels
So
wrong to
wait
me.
a minute. Robbie seems to be contradicting my thoughts about OKC tonight.
He chats in. Let me see if I can make it stick. Oklahoma City was in the playoffs last year and lost in the second round at Dallas. They're young but are experienced in the playoffs. They're not a Cinderella story, which he says is a great Hillary Duff movie, which is a contradiction in terms. Is there such a thing as a great Hillary Duff movie?
Really? Who is Hillary Duff? Hillary Duff. All right, Robbie. Okay, I hear you talking. Robbie, I want you to make sure you've got this noted.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to look on my calendar to give you the exact date. It will be Friday, May the 23rd. That is 2 weeks from this Friday, Robbie.
All right. Okay.
I want you to be ready because I know you write it down, you take notes because you throw it back at me throughout the year. Friday, May the 23rd, which is the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. That's when I will be revealing my predictions in the world of sports, a couple of other varied topics for the next 12 months. I will also recap what I'd said a year prior on the Friday before Memorial Day of what I thought would happen. Now, there's been some rumblings and some discussion and some back talk about he really didn't hit that prediction. He kind of weaseled his way in and tried to get partial credit for it. Okay, take it however you want to.
Right.
Maybe we don't hit it 100% out of the park, but we should get
a double off
credit.
the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, we get some partial credit from some of them. Some of them just completely are strikeouts.
Yeah.
No doubt. I'll be the first
Bill
to
and
admit it.
Hillary. Yeah.
Well, I still not. I don't know. About
that's
that
at least a ground rule double.
Yeah.
Well, since Robbie is in on this, we can also point out in the next segment which major league team is now just one game under 500 after a horrendous 0-7 start. And when we come back, the fabled, often imitated, never duplicated Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel is coming up with Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
Introducing Budweiser Zero. 0% alcohol, 0 grams of sugar. Full Budweiser flavor. A refreshing alcohol-free brew that tastes like the real thing. Budweiser Zero. 0 alcohol, 0 compromise.
Phoenix Physical Therapy is ready to help patients recover, recharge, and rise. They develop a customized therapy plan for each patient to get them back to enjoying their favorite activities. Their experienced team is committed to providing exceptional care in a professional environment. Whether you're looking to prevent or treat an injury, recover from a recent illness, or recuperate from surgery, schedule an appointment with our clinic and take advantage of our physical therapy, athletic training, workers' comp, and employer solutions service. Experience elevated physical therapy today. Call Phoenix Physical Therapy at 239-9316. That's 239-9316.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. About 20 minutes to the top of the hour. Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. In association with our good friends at Yellowhammer News and yellowhammernews.com. You can check us out there each and every day, every afternoon. There's a write-up about the show and what happened, what it was all about. Video content, the whole deal. Also YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, Spotify. So many ways to check us out. We really appreciate it. Will over in Atlanta chimed in today.
Yeah.
We thank him for finding us as well. Tell all your friends, tell all your associates where we are, how to find us. And please hit the like button and the subscribe button. How about our Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry email inbox? My man Curtis, been wondering where Curtis has been. Curtis is in the group with Clem and Frank and Poonja and those guys.
Yeah.
Miss him. He references something, Barry. I'm trying to put it together. There was a radio show called Conference Call.
Yeah.
Was that Max Howell?
I want to say it was. I saw Max a week and a half ago at the Troy Sports Hall of Fame induction. He's in the Troy Sports Hall of Fame. He's Curtis emails, and you can as well, Longshore and McKnight at gmail.com. Again, and is spelled out, A-N-D. McKnight has a K in it. He says, at Longshore and McKnight, gmail.com. He says, speaking of people who can talk, I called Conference Call one time with Terry Bowden on there at the end of the show. The show ended, and he was still talking to me as if I'm driving down the road on the phone. My girlfriend was like, who are you talking to? Show's over. I'm like, he's still on there. Now, Terry was a talker. Last time you and I interviewed Bowden was 2.5 years ago. Well, almost 3 years ago now, when he was the head coach at Louisiana Monroe.
Yeah.
He is no longer the head coach at Louisiana Monroe. I don't know that he's doing anything. He may be an analyst somewhere. But he was a guy I always thought would have been better on television than he actually was, because he is a talker. That brings together a couple of my favorite topics. Terry Bowden at a weekly Auburn football press conference and Philip Marshall.
Oh,
look, nothing against Philip. He's not my favorite writer. He's not the worst, but it used to be so funny because, you'd have the press conferences every week, and it was Tuberville, a little bit of the late, great Bill Oliver, Terry Bowden, those things. Those are the ones that before that with Coach Dye, they were over at Sewell Hall in, like the common room or something. Everybody be sitting in a couch. But, and it's in an amphitheater, and he's right in the middle of it with the podium and all that, and everybody's back a little bit. And at the very back of the amphitheater, that's where all the TV cameras were set up in that ring behind the seats. WSFA, WAKA, WBRC, all of them were back there. And he'd be up there talking, everybody'd be rolling. I'm sitting in the seats before thinking of questions and, writing notes and all that kind of stuff. And it'd be like 2 or 3 minutes in, not bad, not overt, 2 or 3 minutes in, he's talking, cameras are rolling, And here comes Philip through the double doors. You know, he'd come and he'd walk, you know, he'd have his notepad and his pen, and that's it. And he'd walk in the phone. He'd walk right in front of Terry. All the TV people in the back are going, you know, it just totally ruined. He'd walk right in front of him, go to the far side, sit in one of the squeakiest chairs, and maybe it was squeaky because it was him, and sit down and everything. And all of us radio guys who are, you know, capturing the audio, I mean, you're hearing, you're like, and the funny thing is, you know, the TV guys and ladies, the professionals back there, they'd be going like, and then up front, all the radio guys are going like this, me and Bill Cameron and Andy Burcham and Rod and all those people. And he'd be oblivious. He would have no clue that everybody else on the whole amphitheater, except him and Terry Bowden, are ticked off at him, you know? And he's like,
I wonder, Barry, and I'm hoping
great.
We get a sequel when we're in Atlanta for Media Days this summer in July. And I can look down and see Philip asleep in his
our broadcast area up there on the it's the kind of like the loge, kind of like the area up there where we're actually looking straight down. I mean, I can look straight down and you could see, what is it, John, about 150, 200 seats all, you know, laid out in front of the thing. And it's the morning, you know, we're on. We were on in the morning. It's the morning. You had Clark Lee from Vanderbilt, so there wasn't hardly anybody there. And to Philip's credit, when John and I looked down, you know, we weren't on the air at the moment, but John elbows me. And I look down, and there's Philip sitting there. He's by himself. It's not even an Auburn thing, but he's down there, I guess, because he had, you know, filled up on crullers or whatever, and, you know, needed a place to sit. It was Vanderbilt up there. The guy was talking up there. Clark Lee and Phillipson. And I mean, you know, we can't hear him, but I bet he was snoring down there. And John was over there just dying. It was great.
I think I still have that photo I took of
I think you sent it to me.
Yeah.
I may have
it's
it.
One of my favorite pictures of all time. All right, so you hinted at it.
Oh, yeah,
I know. John from Wetumpka. I'm surprised Robbie didn't say anything about it, but yeah, the Braves won again last night.
Locked out.
Yeah. What happened?
They walked it off. 10 innings to beat the Cincinnati Reds. And thank gosh the Braves won because they got a great outing from Chris Sale, the left-hander who's the National League Cy Young Award winner, who hadn't exactly been on his game so far. Marcell Ozuna singles in the bottom of the 10th inning. And the Braves walk off the Cincinnati Reds at Truist Park in Atlanta. 2-1 is the final score. The Braves just one game under 500 right now. One game under. Robbie, you hear that? One game under 500 at 17 and 18.
And to think they were 7 games, they were 7 games under 500 at one time
against the Dodgers and the Padres on the road. But since that point, the Braves not only have gotten out of the cellar of the entire National League, but they have won 3 in a row. And they, in that stretch, are, well, they are 17 and 11, which is pretty good. There's still 5 back of the Mets. There's still 3 back of the Phillies who are in second place.
I'm looking there. The Dodgers, the Mets, as you mentioned. Look at the Chicago Cubs. The Detroit Tigers, 22 wins. The Yankees at 20. So I guess the team with the most wins at this point are the LA Dodgers, followed closely by the New York Mets,
who have the biggest payroll in the NBA. I mean, in Major League Baseball. Here's on the other side, the Colorado Rockies. 6 wins, 28 losses. The Chicago White Sox, who set a Major League record for having the worst, most unsuccessful season in the history of the major leagues last year. The White Sox have the worst record in the American League at 10-26. They had it won last night against the Kansas City Royals. Until a fly ball in the ninth inning bounced off the head of Chicago's second baseman Chase Meidroth. They lost it when the second baseman had a fly ball hit him in the head and dropped.
That hurts.
And there it is. It may be on the topic wheel, but this
hurts.
This is what the White Sox season looks like right now. That kid right there.
They sucked last year, didn't they?
Fly ball off the head. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They had the worst record in the history of Major League Baseball last year. So anyway,
all right.
There we go.
Dennis Mitchell's chimed in. A little Terry Funk question here. Watch
I
Terry
love it when
Funk.
John says this. John always pronounces it like Terry Funk. He makes sure to get that N enunciated.
Like
in
Fred
there.
Funk. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Guys on YouTube, I watched Terry Funk pile drive Ric Flair after he defeated Ricky Steamboat at Wrestle War in Nashville, May 1989. Great feud. Ric Flair is the GOAT. Strong.
Man, defeated Ricky Steamboat. Is that really that guy's name? Somebody really named Steamboat? Well, there's a city in Colorado named Steamboat Springs. Been there a couple of times, but
that's where Gurn Lundquist lived.
A guy's name is Ricky Steamboat? Wow. Okay.
Why Ricky Steamboat? Why is that a cool name? Why not?
I mean, Joey Freshwater seems so much cooler.
Yeah, Ron Mexico.
Yeah, Joey Freshwater. All right, let's take a break. I see the wheel is ready to go. Yep. When we come back, we will go through every topic on the Gurn Jr. Victoryland 777 topic wheel.
That's our commitment to you. In association with Yellowhammer News, Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Located just 8 miles north of Alabama's state capital, Capitol Hill features 3 18-hole championship courses. With more than 1,500 acres of golf and nature, the pure magnitude of this facility is amazing and allows each course to be drastically different from the others. Capitol Hill also features an innovative 360-degree driving range, 400 yards in diameter. Capitol Hill offers a fully stocked pro shop with the latest equipment and apparel. Great food and beverages in the clubhouse can be enjoyed both before and after your round. Get your group together and hit the trail. Go to rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill for tee times and more information.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
All righty, welcome back in. About 8 minutes to go until the top of the hour. I see the wheel, Gurn, loaded up. Let's get the Victoryland 777 topic wheel ready to go for this Wednesday edition. Give it a spin.
Dun, 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 dun.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
And we go with, that's after Cinco de Mayo was Monday, Barry.
About that time then, if that's if my calendar.
Oh, it's a different type. Okay, all right. Okay. Those type of runs.
Michael Kim drops an unfortunate PGA Tour.
You know, Club Pro guy got a hold of some Mexican one day at Miguel's birthday, and it cost him. I wonder if this is similar. There was a player caddy. Oh, porta potty. Those aren't good.
Yep. Michael Kim, pretty good golfer. I saw this from him on Instagram from Hilton Head. And I'll go ahead and read it. He says, there are player caddy only porta potties near the tee boxes. It ain't for the gallery. Nope. It ain't for anybody else. He says there are player caddy only porta potties near the tee boxes. One caddy went to use one Thursday morning, and in the corner of the porta potty sees a pair of boxer briefs and they have that emoji on it, that poop
Yeah,
emoji.
yeah. Ooh,
He said
yeah.
they tried to find out who it was, but they couldn't figure it out. The briefs were a brand that had a brand ambassador, but it was
Ooh.
proven that it wasn't him. So,
Mm.
so either
Wow.
a caddy or a player, according to Michael Him at Hilton Head, hoity-toity,
Yeah.
went in there to the porta potty, but maybe got in there just a little bit late. And they left
Oh, yeah.
boxer
Ouch.
briefs.
Had to go commando the rest of the round. That can promote some chafing. Little itch and irritation.
Why does Michael Kim share that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the
Brand
kid that,
ambassador. You have golf ambassadors that have a boxer brief company on their hat or sleeve or something.
I think Dude Wipes is a sponsor for a couple of tour players. Obviously, they didn't have any Dude Wipes available for this guy.
My wife and I the other night, Dee and I were at the Sam's in Dothan.
Yeah.
And they had, you know what Sam's is like. They had Dude Wipes, but they had them by the gross.
Oh, yeah.
Who in the heck is buying Dude Wipes by the gross? And they had things like not menthol or winter fresh or something like that.
Yeah.
Who did we have on one time that was absolutely praising Dude Wipes? Said it was a life changer.
Yeah,
John was right there with him. John's like, oh yeah.
If you look, I'm looking. I think Gurn Jr.'s working on a Dude White sponsorship for the program. It's a no-brainer. It really is. I'm thinking, why did I not think of that myself? It's just a no-brainer.
Somebody is making some serious bank on just the concept.
Yeah.
And whoever it was that came up with the name. Genius, Dude White.
Well, and their packaging, Barry, there's some comedic value to the packaging. Like when you open up a new fresh pouch and you pull that seal back, it says, "Let it rip."
Which is probably part of the reason why you need Dude White.
Yeah,
anyway.
so they do a good job with their marketing. I got to give them credit. But I'm telling you, don't be shy on the menthol. Woo, moon. All right, let's go to the wheel.
Ice water just...
Yeah. Okay, let's hit the wheel again. Here we go. Victoryland 777 topic wheel, exit 22 off I-85 Shorter, Alabama, where you can be a winner too.
Oh, well, officially that is on the yellow. Yes.
Yep. Overtime. Oh, more hockey. Oh, sweet.
Oh, Hurricanes.
Oh man,
We got a big hockey guy.
Yeah, there's no doubt, and the NHL's having their playoffs as well.
Yeah,
another win in overtime
as well. The playoffs have been crazy. Eastern Conference second round NHL playoffs. It's Hurricanes Capitals. Jacob Slavin scored at 3:06 of overtime. The Carolina Hurricanes. Again, I think I've told the story before. My only child, my son Jack, love him very much. Never exposed him to hockey in my life. He is a big time hockey fan for some reason. Lives in Alabama, for goodness sakes, and his team is the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes beat the Caps 2-1 at Capitol Arena in Washington last night. A overtime goal by Jacob Slavin, and Hurricanes win. Hurricanes win.
There you go, man. I'll tell you, overtimes have been good in the NBA and NHL lately. A lot of extra bonus time. All right, let's spin it again, Gurn. Let's see what we got. See if we can run through some of these. See what we got here. It's going to land on
another
yellow again.
Yellow
Can
again?
it be 2 yellows in a row? Emotional distress.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about that with my buddy Bobby T yesterday at lunch. There is a guy, a fan, who sues the NFL for emotional distress, $100 million emotional distress and trauma because of what they put him through by forcing Shedeur Sanders to not get picked in the NFL draft until the 5th round. That is a true story. To which my friend Bobby T, he says, hey, man, if that thing goes through, if that guy gets awarded any money whatsoever, there should be a class action lawsuit by Braves fans. for emotional distress and
how
agony
long
for being Braves fans.
Is the statute of limitations run out on the kick six game?
Yeah. Chris Davis answers several lawsuits citing emotional distress for him running down the sidelines past all the fat linemen.
Hell, he ran by me. I got a pretty good case. I mean, I could have reached out and I could have gone to Tommy Lewis and tackled him.
In your case, the emotional distress wasn't caused by him running by you. It was emotional distress seeing all those big old Auburn fans trying to get on the field afterwards. And John's like, holy smokes. All he's got's a wireless microphone. He's holding it like it's a lightsaber, like, hey, whoa, hey, watch out, stay away. That kind of stuff. That's what John's emotional distress was, is, holy smokes, I got to get out of here.
Yeah, boy, no kidding.
All right, here we go. Keep going.
All right, spin again, Gurn. Let's see what we got here on the Victoryland 777 topic wheel.
Gurn
exit 22 off I-85 Shorter, Alabama. 9. Wait a minute, you're telling me somebody scored 9 runs in one inning here? What do we got? Oh, yeah.
This is another. Gurn is on it. This is another statistical anomaly here. Yeah, in the 11th inning, they're in extra innings.
Yeah.
And this is a record. They go extra innings, and the Giants score 9 in the 11th inning against the Cubs closer. They scored 9 in the 11th. They beat the Cubs 14-5 in 11 innings, which you never see. That is the 5th largest margin of victory in extra innings in the last 125 years. The Cubs closer, Ryan Presley. It's not like there was a whole lot of drama. Presley allowed all 9 runs without getting an out. He gave up 9 runs, didn't get a single out. Again, they're in extra innings. They're tied after 9. They're tied after 10. And then the Giants hit him up for 9.
So did this guy finish the 11th inning?
He did.
Okay,
I mean, he had to take it for the team. He's saving it for the bullpen for the rest of the series. His ERA coming in was 2.08. When he left, it was 7.62.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right.
Ooh.
All right, we're going to have to hold off on the rest of them, I believe. We
Gurn,
did pretty
save those
well. I liked it.
Yeah. Not bad at all. Some great topics. I mean, when Gurn gives us the good topics, we have a lot to say about it.
And sometimes we get off topic with the topics. Like, I think it was John with the dude wipe reference. So
probably was. That probably is exactly right.
Guilty.
Hey, our man down in Montego Bay, Jamaica, just texted me about the kick six. I mean, here he is on vacation. He's texting me about the kick six.
Yeah, you ruined it for him. He's at Montego Bay. He's got a little morning pick me up. He's sipping on it and everything. And he's watching Longshore and McKnight, and all of a sudden kick six. And he's like, and he pounds the rest of it, chugs it,
All right, tomorrow, Bear, we've got Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover. We have got, of course, Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider, brought to you exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market.
Yep, I'll be in a hotel room somewhere near Collierville, Tennessee, or something like that. John will be available in network control in association with Yellowhammer News. It's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light